Sometimes I don't know if the deck is good or the player is good, and today is going to be one of those times where I play a deck to try to figure out the answer to that question. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today we're going to be dredging. So just in case you're not familiar with the general archetype, your goal is to discard somehow a copy of a dredge card, and then instead of drawing cards, you will be milling cards into your graveyard intentionally, with the goal of bringing back creatures from the graveyard and ultimately killing your opponent with combat damage. And Dredge has existed in this legacy space of like not playing Magic, according to many people, because you break a lot of the normal Magic rules. With Dredge, you're not really drawing one card anymore. You're often drawing 5 or 6 cards a turn effectively. And your graveyard is basically your hand. So it ends up being very, very strange Magic. There is one particularly unique build of this deck that features Otherworldly Gaze that exactly one person has widespread success with. Let's look at this card. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put any number of them into your graveyard, and the rest back on top of your library in any order. So, largely, for the purposes of this deck, this is a mill 3 twice. So, why is this interesting here? Well, it is a 1 mana instant speed way to get dredgers into your graveyard, and it also has some other utility. You could also use this to select your card draw in addition to also putting dredgers and other graveyard-based synergy cards into your graveyard. And this is one of those times where you kind of need to see the whole deck to really get what's going on. Oh, and one more thing. The donation queue is pretty much empty. So if you have something you want to see on the channel, this is the absolute best time to donate and make that happen. I exhausted most of the things I needed to record over the holiday break, so help me find fun things to do on the channel. All right, so here's the whole deck in its glory. So in terms of win conditions, you're looking to do things like mill Narcomoebas into the graveyard, and then sacrifice those with Cabal therapies, or maybe even a Dread return to end up getting a bunch of zombies off of Bridge from Below. That is, generally speaking, your game plan for this deck. Now, this version is unique in that it gets to run Brainstorm, which is sort of a blessing and a curse in an Orcish Bowmaster world. But, sometimes you can just cast a Brainstorm into an Orcish Bowmasters, and especially if you're going to go like very, very wide or very, very tall of an Orcish Bowmasters, like that might not matter all that much. And this version of Dredge has enough blue cards in it that you can actually run Force of Will to protect your initial turns, which is really cool. Or later on in the game, maybe only something like a Terminus is going to beat you, and you can just have Force of Will to say no to that. Now, Mafuz Van Gogh is pretty much the only person who has repeated success with this build. It is very much their baby, and we'll see how strong this deck feels to an outsider. This is one of those decks that I've been curious about for a while, and Paul gave me a dealer's choice donation deck list, and I figured it was time to explore this. Also, let's go big screen for this. This is important. I think Legacy is super, super healthy right now, but in looking through the like 5.0 deck list dumps from the last few days, it's a lot of the same stuff. Like, Legacy is super competitively balanced, incredibly fun. But there's a lot of Sticker Goblin decks running around. There's a lot of Murktide Regent decks running around. So I was having a little bit of trouble finding some spice for you all, and this was about the spiciest thing I found. The sideboard, generally speaking, is relatively focused, with bouncing Leyline of the Void out of play being one of the like singular most important things to be able to do. You've got your own ley lines for other graveyard-based combo decks like Reanimator that might end up going faster than you. This version of the deck is not like running LED and Faithless looting to kind of go as turbo as possible. Cards like Otherworldly Gaze make you more resilient. So imagine you're playing against a deck that has like Bojuka Bog and Elvish Reclaimer. Like you can Otherworldly Gaze, put a Grave Troll in there, and then put them to the choice. Like, do you want to stop this or are you going to wait? And then like, you know, flashback Otherworldly Gaze can make that decision more complicated for them, right? And then you just like try to end up going again later. The fact that this is an instant also helps out with a lot of those like sorcery speed, Bojuka Bog, or other exile your graveyard effects. So you can just like try again, end of turn, put a dredger in there, and go. Yeah, so that being said, let's hop into this. Let's see how good this deck is. If you find you need any cards for it, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your next order. And as a reminder, if you are a YouTube member, you could have watched this video in advance, as well as had access to my Discord server, where we're cubing and chatting about all sorts of fun stuff. Let's battle. All right. I have a dredger. I have a way to get a dredger into graveyard. I'm going to keep this hand. Depending on what my opponent does on turn 1, I might just draw my card and discard Golgari Grave Troll and just like fucking start the game that way. All right, we're going. I am absolutely going to just discard Golgari Grave Troll to hand size because my opponent Trinisphered. I am probably never, going to cast a spell this game. I think I'm just going to repeatedly discard this same Golgari Grave Troll to hand size. And we'll go from there. I, in theory, don't actually need to cast spells to win games of Magic here. But life's not gonna be easy. That's for damn sure. A lot of this game is going to depend on whether or not my opponent has another soul land to really accelerate things. I guess with the treasure token stuff here, there's a good chance, yeah, that something like this can happen. I imagine at this point that I probably don't win. With only one extra black card in graveyard, I don't think I do this yet. I guess I'm always rediscarding Troll anyway. Sure. And let's dredge. Alright, we hit some Narcomoebas. No Bridge from Below's in graveyard. Don't get to do cool Cabal Therapy stuff here. Oh, okay, this is interesting. I do actually have a basic land that I can search for. Wasn't really expecting that. So now I can either discard 2 cards or actually make a land drop for the purposes of Trinisphere. I think I'll make a land drop. Then rediscard Troll. I don't really know how I'm beating the reflection of Kiki Jiki on Caves of Chaos Adventurer. I think the answer is I'm not, and this game is over. But I've been wrong before. We'll take one more dredge. Yep. Yeah, I think to have stayed competitive in this game, I think I just needed an earlier couple of Bridge from Belows, and we just never hit a bridge. So at this point, the trample damage off of this is going to end up being too much, and I will concede. So from the sideboard, I'm going to need some number of ways to bounce an enchantment, and Ashen Rider is probably not crazy either as a Dread Return target. The tough part in playing decks like these is always figuring out like what is the most expendable thing. Feels like Brainstorm runs into Chalice a decent amount anyway. Let's assume those become some of these. That keeps my blue count the same for Force of Will. Actually, Stern Dismissal is creature or enchantment. I think that's better. Maybe I just end up playing all of those, though. Go down like 1 therapy or something beyond that. No. This, that does not do it. This hand is not particularly good either. I really want to keep an opener that has an answer to Leyline of the Void because I expect my opponent to mulligan to that because it's such an impactful card. I think I will go to 5 here. Yeah, there is an answer to that. I'm going to keep this, get rid of Daze and Troll probably. Yep. So these are both instants. I'll just go ahead and make my land drop and pass. I think I'm going to need an upkeep stop. Let's fetch. I think because of Magus of the Moon, I just grab a basic. Let's bounce that Leyline out of play. Then upkeep Gaze. Graveyard. 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 Draw. Dredge Troll. And we're off to the races. So I completely missed on another Dredger. That is unfortunate. So that means that I need to probably draw a land to be able to flashback Gaze. I don't want to do this yet. This is a little uncomfortable. So this is like a broadside. It's just uncounterable. It is an uncounterable Goblin Rabblemaster. I could Stern Dismissal this back to my opponent's hand to buy some time. I think I am very sadly going to do that. I don't really have a lot of agency in this game right now. Yikes. So not getting Underground Sea means I don't get to Cabal Therapy the Rabblemaster that I now know about. It's also not a blue card for the purposes of Force of Will. Alright, you got it this time. I take 1. Could be worse, but life's pretty damn bad right now. We whiff on another draw. I expect that I'm going to die. Unchecked Goblin Rabblemaster. Kills real fast. Like, I take 6 this turn. Plus 2 damage every turn just from that card. The next turn it hits me for 8 instead. Which means that I'm just dead next turn. With no recourse. These Icarids don't do me any good coming back here. I can bounce a Rabblemaster out of play, take 4, 5, 6, go to 4. That still doesn't solve any of my problems. We kind of tripped all over ourselves here.
Today's video is sponsored by Eminence Gaming. Their command tower software that they use to run events is awesome, and in January, I'm going to be attending another one of their events, The Boil, in Atlanta at Charlie's Collectible Show, which is, no joke, one of the coolest venues that I've ever played at. If you are interested in some CEDH and or meeting me, consider checking it out.
Okay, opening hand here does literally nothing unless I just discard a Dredge 4, but I would be doing that with 2 of my Narcomoebas already in my hand. I think that one gets a no sir from me. This one is hopefully fine. I think I throw back Force of Will number 2. The game plan here is Colosseum, Careful Study, discard Troll, then cast Brainstorm to go nuts. Are we just doing the same thing as last round again? We are. So much of this in leagues right now. This is not the card that I want to Force of Will in this matchup, but I am going to Force of Will it. If my opponent led on that rather than a lock piece, they probably just have more threats in hand, and if I slow down the first threat, hopefully I will just have time to do my thing. Get rid of Troll and land. I think get rid of Troll and land, keep Gaze to pitch to Force, and then be able to Brainstorm. I think I like that. Now we're looking to Force of Will, like the Trinosphere Chalice of the Void style card. I think my opponent's just going to play like an initiative creature based on their opening hand. A Battlecry Goblin. I think we say that one's fine. Like, my opponent could give it haste and do their thing, but I don't think that's the one that I want to take out. I think I just dredge and then brainstorm afterwards. A Narcomoeba. I will use that ability. I have a Cabal Therapy here. And one bridge. Missing on the follow-up dredger fucking sucks with this deck. Alternatively, we get a little weird. Yeah, Cabal Therapy, target myself. Sacrifice a Narcomoeba. And Golgari Grave Troll. Put that in graveyard. Now I'll cast a Brainstorm. So Dredge, Golgari Grave Troll. Dredge Imp. Dredge Imp. Put back 2 Dredgers on top. Use Narcomoeba's ability. Cabal Therapy. Target you. Sack Narcomoeba. Get 2 critters. Name Muxus. Shatter Skull Smashing and Simian Spirit Guide. Understood? I don't think I'm getting rid of either one of those things with this last Cabal Therapy. I think that's good for a turn. If my opponent, like... that one's a little awkward. That can just funnel a lot of mana into a Battlecry Goblin. Probably get 3 activations. That's a lot of damage. Let's just nope that. Not shocking for Shatter Skull Smashing. My opponent can attack me here. Like, I won't block. Okay, no, they're not going to do that. They're just going to hold it back. Dredge Grave Troll. Ooh, get a Narcomoeba. My opponent's last card is a Spirit Guide. Okay. Cabal Therapy. Target you. Sacrifice this for 4 zombies. Alright, and my opponent has had enough. That's fair. So this is going to play out like the last match, where I just want some number of things that deal with Leyline of the Void. Days seems a little embarrassing here. That gets me the first 3 of these. And maybe I trim Brainstorm after that for a couple more. So I have an answer to a Leyline. I'm going to draw another card. This is maybe not an oh, wow, okay, no Leyline. They're just gonna try to go fast instead, or maybe they have Fairy, question mark, question mark, question mark. Cabal Therapy just for Sticker Goblin here is not unreasonable. I feel like I just die if I don't do that. So, like, I'm really thinking about hard discard, but if my opponent did not lead on a lock piece or a Leyline, I think I just have to take this out. Yeah, so the plan was name Sticker Goblin into Muxus, and we slow that down a decent bit. Hopefully we slow it down long enough to get a Stinkweed into our graveyard and do something cool. Oh, I just didn't fucking count, did I? If my opponent rips a red card, they just get to Muxus. I should have taken the Muxus. Well, I'm an idiot. Could have been worse, honestly. But I think I just punted this match by not actually counting my opponent's mana sources. Let's brainstorm and then concede. Yeah, like I can bounce a Mux. That's how to play. Let my opponent do it again. I don't have a way to get my stuff into graveyard. Well, that was a disastrous punish for my misplay. Also, my opponent has fairies instead of Leylines. Which means Fiora's Dismissal and Stern Dismissal out. I could actually keep Stern Dismissal. Let's go Brainstorms in. I guess Grief becomes better now, right? Like I use Grief to check not only for fairies, but also for Sticker Goblins. That's fine. Yeah. This is probably good. So, Grief pitches the Dread Return. Oh, no big troll in the end game for us. Oh, god damn it. God damn it. I'm so upset. We're taking the Goblin Matron, and we're gonna find a fucking Cabal Therapy. And we're gonna take all those fairies at once, give double middle fingers to my opponent, and move on with our lives. Let's careful study. Discard Troll and land, probably. We know about that. And they're going to go ahead and use one fairy. I've got a thug. I think I'm going to just brainstorm immediately. The intention of putting a thug back on top and then gazing it into my graveyard. 2 thugs on top. And so we'll mill those at the end of my opponent's turn. Actually, maybe I mill those in my upkeep so that I can brainstorm in response. Yeah. I think I like that. Let's gaze. So, graveyard. We'll just graveyard this. Oh, they let me dredge. Cool. I think I just passed the turn here. I could brainstorm. In response to a fairy at some point. I might even be able to have 2 brainstorms up if my opponent doesn't fire something off on their own turn. So there's a fairy. I will respond with a brainstorm. My opponent will probably respond with a second fairy. And I will respond with a brainstorm. And hopefully this game is over. Yep. Brainstorm again. You have the last fairy. I lose my shit. Alright. Dredge. This was targeted by one of those fairies. I guess dredge it. Put back 1 and 2. Dark Amoeba hits play. Say yes. Careful Study gets exiled. Dredge Troll. Dredge other troll. Dredge more other troll. Put back trolls. 3 Narcomoebas hit play. Opponent exiles and Otherworldly Gaze. I still get a draw step. Cool. Now I'll just shred my opponent's hand with Cabal Therapy with no remorse. Fury. Okay, my opponent is just done. Good stuff. My opponent might have waited too long on their fairies by letting me that dredge that first time. That set up my double brainstorm situation. Yeah, it is impressive that I just beat triple fairy.
Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is just the best place to host your online deck lists, and I don't think it's close. I think it's wonderfully organized, and you can have a great system of folders so that you can go through, separate your decks by whatever you want. I separate mine by format. I have just a few legacy decks, and Moxfield is able to keep track of all the decks that even someone like me makes. So please consider checking them out.
Okay, I am on the play. I have no dredgers. I have no card draw. That's a nope from me. This one is maybe unexciting, but fine. I don't have anything to pair with the Force of Will. I could draw something to pair with the Force of Will. I guess it's like this is how frequently am I discarding a bridge from below? Sometimes. Like I always discard this Stinkweed Imp, and then the other one's a lot harder. Like sometimes it's this, sometimes it's this, sometimes it's a second dredger. I would prioritize second dredger probably. This is where I just don't have the reps to know for sure. I think I'm just going to keep Force of Will. I have 2 looks at a blue card in order for the Force of Will to be live this game. Otherwise, it's probably not live this game. So let's see. Well, the Force of Will is live. Stinkweed Imp gets discarded, and then I get to choose Icarid or Bridge from below. Let's choose Bridge from below. It powers up my other cards quite a bit. So I get to dredge 5, and then we can start looking at activating Cephalid Coliseum as a follow-up. Just more red stompy decks. God, they're everywhere. Whose fault is that? Who did this? Tell me in the comments who did this. Point the finger. Whose fault is this? We're all looking for this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Target player. It's me. Stinky. Grave Troll. Thug. I now get to discard 3 cards. Imp. Troll. And then probably Icarid. So since I used that Cephalid Coliseum, I don't have the second mana to flashback Otherworldly Gaze anymore. Oh, okay. It's not the thing that I thought it was. This is like a show and tell deck. Cool. And they don't have the nuts. I think I get rid of the Stinkweed Imp here. I'm hoping to just cast this Hogak. We'll send on in for 3. Opponent goes to 17. And now I will Cabal Therapy my opponent, triggering Bridge twice. Ooh, Force of Will, pitching Show and Tell. Understood. I think I let that happen. I could just Force of Will it, though, to always get to look at their hand. And then I Hogak, then Cabal Therapy again, and take whatever it is that is truly a problem. A Brainstorm in response makes this tougher. So if I were the opponent here, I would be hiding my enabler, such as a Sneak Attack or Show and Tell, on the top of the deck. So I probably name a creature here. I think the one that I name is Emrakul. If I hit an Emrakul, it goes into my opponent's graveyard and then shuffles their top 2 cards. Show and Tell and Veil of Summer. Awkward. Very awkward. So we'll junk some cards from graveyard that don't matter for Hogak. I will All Therapy my opponent still, right? Still just get to Show and Tell. Man, that's so devastating. Do I just leave the Hogak in play and not Therapy? I guess so. Oh, that's weird. My opponent's line may have been based around them drawing 1 card deeper to the second one down. Alright, there's Show and Tell. I don't know what creature this is. Troll is currently tiny. I think I just put in my Death Toucher in case it's Atraxa. Oh, it's Sneak Attack. Okay. Cool. And my opponent knows their top card. They just know they're deterministically dead because they didn't have a creature. That's super convenient for me. I am happy with how I navigated that one. So, from my opponent, I'm expecting like more Cage and Surgical type cards than I am Leyline of the Void type cards. I think that makes Grief attractive. I think Ashen Rider is a really good thing to put in off a Show and Tell. I can also think about Stern Dismissal to just bounce something like an Atraxa back to hand. So these are the 7 cards that I am considering. Not sure how reliable Daze is going to be against my Veil of Summer opponent. I mean, same is true of Grief, though. But like my opponent has Soul Lands and stuff they can also play cards around. This is where not having reps to know how to sideboard hurts. A lot of Dredge's win percentage comes from knowing how to sideboard. Makes it a really hard deck to just pick up and play. Despite how, generally speaking, easy the game ones are to pilot. Maybe I get rid of Brainstorm here for these 4. How do I feel about just discarding a Dredger on turn 1? That feels pretty slow to me. Like, I think if I had a Brainstorm type card to follow up, I would be okay with that. But I think this on its own is just like not gonna be enough. Let's ship it. This hand does literal nothing. We'll go to 5. Cabal Therapy myself or a Troll. Like, this is the 5. That's pretty shameful. Let's go to 4. This is better than the last one. Because if Cabal Therapy works, I get 2 turns worth of dredging. I am into that. Oh, are we going now? We're not going now. Good. I sure am not ready for it. Cabal Therapy target me? That's a Force of Will. This would have happened with the 5-card hand as well. Cage. F. So now we are on cast sad creatures as the primary plan. I imagine my opponent will just beat us. Oh, I mean, if you miss land drops forever, I can kill you with bad creatures. Is it shameful? Oh, yes. Greatly. Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, we're drawing more 2-drops, baby. This is the deck of Magic the Gathering cards we are playing. Yeah, okay. Oh, man, I can play a Death Toucher this turn. Hashtag blessed. What is that? 16. I'll drop to 15. We can grab a basic. My opponent sometimes will be playing Blood Moons. Yep. Oh, Force of Will is really fucking good. I could not play a Stinkweed Imp to play around like a daze on my Force of Will. But I think I just have to keep casting dudes. Like every turn I can decrease the clock by matters so much. My opponent's on discarding cards. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so playing this next Narcomoeba changes the clock to a 2-turn clock. This will be the last creature that I play this game, in all likelihood. And then from here, I just play around like Flusterstorm on Force of Will. Cool. That doesn't really do anything this game, because like this next turn is my opponent's last turn, unless things get really weird. Do I just fire off the Force of Will on this? Like, I know this was their draw for turn. I think so. Like, you can Veil of Summer, and then you've lost your Lotus Petal. Okay, yep, I mean, that's fine. It was very likely that my opponent was going to have counter spells, given how the rest of this game has progressed. Sure. That's not a soul land. So now they need double Lotus Petal Show and Tell creature to go off. And the creature cannot be Emrakul. It has to be Atraxa. All right. You can tell me how you feel about that one. All right, I am going to keep this opening hand. An island, you say? I might just go to discard and discard Stinkweed Imp, and then use Careful Study to dredge, kind of depending on what I draw here. That's an old play pattern that I used to do versus Air Blue Control decklist. I don't know whether or not I'm playing against combo yet, but I think just 100% guaranteeing that I can start the game off dredging is pretty good. And if I miss on hitting another dredger with this dredge 5 words, I can just use this to discard 2 dredgers. 1, 2. All right, so I'll have 8 cards in hand. Do I just want to hard discard again, or do I want to Careful Study? I might be Careful Studying directly into an Orcish Bowmasters. No, fuck it. Let's just discard Stinkweed Imp. I think my opponent would have just played a Bowmasters end of turn there. That gives us the control vibes. That Tundra. Dredge, Stinkweed Imp. Okay, there's now another Stinkweed Imp in the graveyard. I don't know that I have any reason to deviate from my current game plan, though. Like, opponent doesn't have beans yet. Opponents didn't play 4th Airlingas. Alright, cool. I think next turn I'm going to commit to casting Careful Study, though. Like, I can cast this Careful Study when I have multiple dredgers in graveyard. That sounds good to me. Mana, alright. There be beans. Casting spells. Fucking overrated. Am I fine with casting a Careful Study? I don't really want to get it Force of Willed and whatnot. But I guess it's like not bad for me to get it Force of Willed at this stage, right? I'll get a basic. Oh, it just resolves. Cool. Discard troll for sure. I have hit just literal 0 creatures yet, like Narcomoebas and such. Probably Troll Imp. I've already got 1 therapy in yard. Well, I guess I hit an Icarid. I will almost certainly eat a Swords to Plowshares when I play it. 3 Bridge from Below's in my graveyard. Also, can Orcish Bowmasters shoot itself? Feels like the answer to that question is yes. That could be relevant in this matchup. Lorien revealed. Understood. That probably means you're discarding 1, right? Yeah. I mean, it's a draw 4. But this means that I'm not getting this creature Swords to Plowshare this turn, which is actually pretty fucking huge. Ooh. This turn's probably going to be good. So let's attack for 3. Opponent goes to 15. Ball therapy, target you. Sacrifice a Narcomoeba. Get 4 zombies. We probably want to name something like Terminus first here. Force of Will. Sure. So I assume I'm going to end up casting this Cabal Therapy from hand and then again from graveyard. That's just, I think, the best thing to be doing with my mana. Oh, fuck. That's just dredge things. Just dredge things. All right. Well, let's cast a Hogak. All right, Hogak resolves. Cabal Therapy, target you. Sacking Hogak. Making 4 more things. We're going to name Terminus. It is 3 Swords to Plowshares. Then I will recast a Hogak. Didn't even have another land for Otherworldly Gaze. I think that's fine. We now sack Icarid and get 4 more Zombarinos. Don't have another black creature in the graveyard for Icarid. I also don't have another Dredger in graveyard, so I guess I'm naturally drawing. My opponent still just takes a gajillion damage from zombie tokens, even if they Swords to Plowshares or Leyline Binding 3 of these things. So I guess my opponent could have like another Brainstorm and set up Terminus on my turn, and that's about the only way I could lose, I think. That's a fetch to clear. That's not doing it. Sure. Oh my god, my opponent chose not to shuffle with Ponder. Like, did they really just find Brainstorm and Terminus? It is obviously super unfortunate if they did. I don't have another blue card in hand. So Leyline Binding into Terminus. Yeah, I mean, that is very unfortunate. Yeah, so I have no valid plays. My fetch lands are dead. And my opponent is probably stable. Like, they will play a win condition over the course of a couple of turns and get me. That's super unfortunate. This also kills the bridge from Below's. And a Teferi? Sure, bounce the Leyline Binding. I think at this point the writing is on the wall. Like, with the bridge from Below's gone and Uro coming and no things in graveyard for Icarid, I think I am comfortable conceding here. Let's move to the next one. I even got to like check for the Terminus. So it goes. So not really expecting Leylines here. I'm expecting more of the like surgical extraction endurance style cards in this matchup. Ashen Rider is interesting to free things from Leyline Binding. I don't think I'm going to go that deep. Reef is interesting to punch a hole in the early turns. Flusterstorm is interesting to protect versus Terminus specifically. A lot of times my opponent will like play a card, then play a Terminus, and a Fluster probably wins a counter war. I don't know how good Daze is, especially if I spend multiple turns just doing natural discard type stuff. Let's try something that looks like this. I wonder if this is a matchup where I actually take the draw so I can just hard discard with my first hand. Am I getting lost in the sauce? I don't think I'm getting lost in the sauce. No, I would not like to play first. Yeah, I'm just gonna discard this Stinky. It's like awkward if I have to mulligan my hand though. I don't know. It seems okay. We're thinking with portals. All right, so we'll just discard Stinky and see what my opponent can do. The surgical extraction is awkward because like Stinkweed Imp happens to also be the other dredger in my hand. It is Beans. Do I force a will Beans? I don't think I force a will Beans. Like beans are really good. But I think conceptually my force of will exists for very specific fights. Yes, I will use Narcomoeba's ability. Now, do I gaze? Do I play a land? Do I just discard again? Deck's hard. I think I'm just going to make a land drop and pass the turn without using Cabal Therapy. Gonna do an end of my opponent's turn Otherworldly Gaze, I think. I kind of want to just like have a second land drop for this game going long. Like, I have access to 3 copies of Otherworldly Gaze. I might end up putting a dredger in my graveyard without dredging, as weird as that is. Fuck. That's so bad. I will Otherworldly Gaze in response. Ooh. Do I have to force a will back? I don't really want to force a will back. I just have no dredgers. I will be at 7 cards after I draw. Yeah. That doesn't feel good, though. So, Narcomoeba goes in graveyard. Troll goes in graveyard with no other blue card here. That also just goes into graveyard. So let's stick a Narcomoeba. And then hopefully my opponent can't just clear my graveyard. Dredge that. That's a pretty terrible dredge. So I have no bridge from belows and no dredgers. And no mana. So my opponent basically gets double time walks. That's a disaster. Like, I'm still making progress in that, like, I am attacking for 2 points of damage. Grief is interesting. I could grief my opponent and then double Cabal Therapy to just strip their hand, but I think stripping their hand doesn't make a lot of sense with an Up the Beanstalk in play. I think I am trying to get to 7 cards in hand. Yeah, you can have it. We've had some slightly suboptimal dredges here. Losing game 1 was a disaster. Ooh, my opponent's a Monarch now. We're pretty close to the point where I just concede here. Like, if my opponent removes this Dark Amoeba so I can't contest the Monarch with their last card, like, I think we're just done. And that did indeed happen. So now my opponent gets 1 extra card per turn cycle. I don't imagine that I can win the game from here. In theory, my dredges from here should be pretty stacked, given how poor they were at the beginning of the game. But, like, my opponent is looking at 7 different cards right now. They will get to keep 6 of them because they get to draw 1 with this. I don't know, they get, like, 1 more time walk before I even get to make any reasonable plays. And I drew another Narcomoeba. I think we're done here. Alright, I don't think I am interested in this hand with no dredger and a sort of awkward brainstorm Cabal Therapy combo. This one has no lands and is down a card. We say no to that. Are we at the keep 5 cards Cabal Therapy myself for troll point? Yeah, we might be. Let's put the Narcomoebas back into deck. I don't exactly feel good about this. It's very soft to force a will. Oh no. My opponent's deck is just faster than ours. They win game 1. Yep. We just got oopsed in round 5. So once we confirm that they have the win, there's Dread Return, there's Thassa's Oracle. Alright. They have the win. So the good news is that I get to be a Leyline of the Void gamer. I can also, like, go really heavy into disruption if I think I need to. And my opponent doesn't know what I'm playing, so there's that. How much stuff can I cut? Brainstorms can go. The Hogak's probably not necessary. I assume I can't ever really cut these. I know what Cabal Therapy does. Daze is fine. Can probably ignore the Dread Return aspect of the deck. Can probably cut one Dredger. It's not a disaster if I don't immediately have one. That can get me 4 of these, 1 of these. Then what of these is better? Maybe we just do a split. So I think I keep this. I think I therapy on 1. 50-50 shot at hitting the right one. Maybe we do Undercity Informer instead of the Spy. Heyo! Feel good about that. So then in my own upkeep, I can Otherworldly Gaze. I could just daze that, and then my opponent has 0 starting mana sources, but then I don't get to use my own Otherworldly Gaze. I think I let that happen. Did they just miss? Right? There's no new revealed card. There's nothing in chat here. I think they just missed on Once Upon a Time. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, they missed on Once Upon a Time. Well, I guess I'm glad I didn't counter it. All right. Upkeep Gaze. Tarn goes into graveyard. I think Therapy goes into graveyard, despite the fact that it has text. I think I'm going to top the land so that I can flashback Gaze. And I'll get Careful Study this turn. Hey, that's good. Discard you and you. And I still have both Daze and Force of Will available. Alright, good stuff. Don't have critters in the yard. I guess I could have Otherworldly Gazed in response. And probably should have. So no Bridge from Belows yet. I guess let's try to find one. Hey! Graveyard. 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 Ball Therapy. Target you. Sacrifice Narcomoeba. I think I'm going to get rid of your Pact of Negation, since I have 2 counterspells. And there's an Undercity Informer and a Spy over there. I've got Cabal Therapy. Kind of just want to Cabal Therapy for their Cabal Therapy to protect my Force of Will. Let's do that. I'm not going to wait a turn. Cabal Therapy. The Cabal Therapy. Alright, good stuff. And now I'll Icarid, getting rid of Thug. Dredge Troll, and we're just off to the races. There's 5 damage. What is that? 15. I have nothing castable from graveyard. I guess I will. Or no, because I want to hold that for Force of Will. JK. We'll call that a turn, and I'll make 2 more zombies. Icarid is black creature, specifically. So if I return Icarid this turn, I can't keep dredging. Or no, I have Golgari Grave Trolls. What the fuck am I talking about? Don't play Magic while you have a cold, kids. Don't do it. So, do I cast Otherworldly Gaze before end of turn in an attempt to get more Bridge from Below tokens? I think the answer is no, because I just have lethal next turn. Let's take those zombies. Alright, we get that game. So, my opponent could leyline us back. I don't think I sideboard for that. I think if that happens, it happens, and we try to kill our opponent by hardcasting bad creatures. But I think stopping my opponent is more important than trying to answer an opposing leyline. Okay, I mean, I've got a leyline starting hand, and potentially the ability to put a creature into my graveyard. That means that this is a keep. And we did not get leylined by my opponent. So good shit. Sure. Alright. Alright. No initial play. Under no circumstances should I assume that I am safe. Like, this is a deck that is very much prepared to try and beat leylines. Doesn't mean they always have an answer to it. Narcomoeba will go to graveyard. Bridge from below will go to graveyard. Grief is weird. I think I'm going to accept that. Put a Narcomoeba into play. We'll draw the grief. Attack for 1. When it goes to 19, play this. Grief, getting rid of a bridge from below, I think. See what's going on over there. So they've got multiple spies, so that's my Cabal Therapy name. I think I am just going to take their Pact of Negation. That way, if I end up drawing a counter spell, I can do cool things. I need more experience with this deck. So with the Grief trigger on the stack, I should have cast Gaze to see if I hit another bridge from below. Let's pop out my own graveyard. But I guess it looks like I'm holding up countermagic, so you know. Alright, flashback Gaze. I guess I also could have done it on my own turn to hit Cabal Therapy. Strand goes to graveyard. I just keep 2 Careful Studies on top. Just cast Careful Study, discard Thug Icarid, cast Careful Study. That's fine. Careful Study, discard Thug, Icarid, 6 cards in graveyard. Actually, maybe Colosseum this turn. Careful Study later. Okay. Choose me. Thug. Okay, discard 1, 2, 3. I think I keep Force of Will, Careful Study. I did not hit a Cabal Therapy to go after their spies, but I've got Force of Will backing me up now. And Force of Will backing up a leyline, historically, pretty good. Dredge Troll. Ooh, hit multiple Narcomoebas. We'll crash in for some damage. When it goes to 10, I get another 2/2. So my opponent has 1 more turn after this one before they are just dead to board. And they go ahead and concede, meaning that we are positive in this league. So I have mixed feelings about this deck list, having played this league. I don't think this is objectively a particularly powerful or fast deck list. It's not faster than, you know, the Oops and Sticker Goblin decks of the world. It feels pretty damn reasonable versus the Beans decks. I feel like I have a lot of agency in that matchup, and I don't have to resolve that many spells to do very strong things. Like, we got absolutely savaged by Terminus at that one moment, but like the amount of power that I put on board across 2 turns, going wide of like Leyline Bindings and Swords to Plowshares, was very impressive. But I'm not fast, and the deck feels a little clunky. Like, I definitely had moments for optimization and alternative decision trees, and like I caught some of them, and I'm sure there's more that I missed. I don't know that it is worth investing the amount of time that would be required to really learn this deck in and out. Like, I don't know if the power ceiling of this deck with that ability level is going to be higher than the ceiling of other decks that exist in this format. But this is not a bad deck. I give this one a shaky thumbs up, where I don't know if I recommend it, but I don't think it's bad. Let me know down in the comments below kind of what you think about this one. It was a little bit of a strange league if you find you want to play this in one of your local events, because this doesn't have like LEDs and stuff in it. So if you already have Underground Seas, the rest of this deck is really cheap. Check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to get a little bit off on your next order. Folks, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya.